Some legacies are buried beneath layers of concrete and madness, waiting for the right moment to hollow out the living. My father retreated into his reinforced sanctuary at the dawn of 2020. He claimed the collapse of the world was imminent, and when we refused to believe his delusions, he told us to wake up. It was a miserable rainy day, and I spent my time watching the water streak across the windowpanes while my sister tried in vain to change his mind. I knew his stubborn nature was impenetrable, as he only listened to his own biases and perhaps the rhetoric of certain politicians. The World Health Organization had just declared a global pandemic, and he demanded we join him underground. When we declined, he called us brainwashed victims of the system. He had purchased that isolated land years before my birth solely for the crumbling military facility that occupied the site. The structure was abandoned in the 60s, and my sister witnessed his obsession grow until it finally pushed our mother away. I struggle to recall the gentleman Mom describes, since my only childhood memories of him involve weekends spent at the bunker. He was always renovating or stockpiling supplies for a survival scenario he was desperate to experience. We could not prevent his descent. While he was never a good father, it was still painful to watch him abandon reality. He seemed genuinely excited that civilization might fail because it justified a lifetime of preparation. We maintained contact through an old radio because he believed mobile phones were tracking devices. We heard from him rarely until his last transmission 3 months ago. He mentioned finding a hidden door and intended to explore what lay beyond it. Since then, there has been nothing but silence. My sister Evelyn worried about his failing health as we drove through a punishing heatwave to check on him. I suggested his radio might simply be broken, but a deep sense of dread settled in my chest. The way he spoke of that door did not feel right. It was pitch black when we arrived at the site. His truck sat under a flapping tarp in the cold desert wind. We used our flashlights to navigate to the heavy steel door, which was designed to survive a nuclear strike. I possessed the only spare key, but I hammered on the metal first and screamed for him so he would not mistake us for intruders and open fire. I unlocked the door and was met with a rancid odor that smelled of rot and old death. We descended the creaking spiral stairs into the dark. The power was out because the batteries were drained, and the silence of the corridor felt heavy with childhood terrors. Evelyn refused to let me go forward alone, so we moved together into the cramped living area. The bunker felt smaller and more distorted than I remembered. A faded Confederate flag hung like a ghost on the wall, representing a man who built a prison in the name of freedom. Inside the main chamber, we found a floor covered in trash and empty cans. My heart stopped when I saw the dining table was set for 3 people. Before I could process who might have been eating with him, a sound echoed from the back rooms. I discovered the hidden door Dad had mentioned. He had chipped away the concrete to reveal a rusted metal hatch that stood slightly ajar. Behind it was a tiny room with a bottomless circular hole in the floor. The air coming from the pit was unnaturally warm. I walked further into the hallway to find Dad, but my light landed on a pair of feet. It was a corpse with a bullet hole in its forehead, and the face was an exact rotting copy of my own. We panicked and tried to flee, but then we heard Dad's voice calling for help from the storeroom. He claimed to be pinned under a shelf after killing an intruder. I told Evelyn to go back to the surface while I checked the bathroom. There I found my father dead on the toilet with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head and his brain splattered on the wall. He had been dead for weeks, yet his voice continued to call out to me from the darkness. I grabbed his blood-soaked journal and ran back to Evelyn, only to find her staring at her own naked and broken body in the corner. We fled the bunker and did not look back. At home, I finally read the journal entries. Dad wrote about a surprise visit from us and how he realized the things in his bunker were not his children. He shot the version of me and then fled to the bathroom to end his own life because the